With respect to the party Congress and what came out of it, that analysis is still ongoing. But I will say this: it's not just what President Xi says, but it's how the Chinese behave and what they do. And what we've seen over the past 20 years is that they have delivered on every promise they've made earlier than they said they were going to deliver on it. So when we talk about the 2027 window, in my mind, that has to be a 2022 window or potentially a 2023 window. I can't rule that out. I don't mean at all to be alarmist by saying that. It's just that we can't wish that away. And I go back to my comments about Ukraine and the unpredictability of that conflict with Russia.
I agree with the premise is we shouldn't be dividing the pie a third, and a third, or a quarter. And now with the Space Force, the new fraction, we need to be funding services based on the capabilities they bring to bear against the specific challenges that we face. And obviously, in the Indo-Pacific, it is a maritime theater where air and naval forces will be predominant. Doesn't mean that ground forces will be irrelevant, but they will play relatively less of a role. However, as Russia has reminded us, we need to also invest in making sure that we can deter and respond to aggression in the European theater, where ground forces have a very substantial role to play. So.
There's a lot of, I'll say, compartmented capabilities out there that, at the end of the day, with your oversight responsibility, you want to make sure taxpayer dollars are spent wisely, that the policy is sound. You can't do that if you don't have the full picture. And I can't tell you how many times, once I was in an administration, you'd have a senior policymaker ask, I want to understand red and blue together. And the intelligence community could only provide one half of the equation, and then you'd have to get somebody else or Department of Defense to present blue. So how do we figure out, from a congressional perspective as well as an executive branch perspective, how do you bring those two sides together into a cohesive, I'll say, comparative assessment?
I think it's important to point out, and maybe this audience knows that, and certainly you do, Mike, that the intelligence community does not make policy. It presents information to policymakers so that they can make better policy, in my view. Bad intelligence almost never produces good policy. Good intelligence hopefully does produce good policy. But it's important for the intelligence community to know what their lane is and not to overreach.